They say some objects hold memories, that certain things can absorb the energy of their surroundings, capturing emotions, intentions, even souls. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm about to tell you why I'll never look at a doll the same way again. This isn't fiction. This isn't entertainment. This is a warning. Don't play with dolls. It started 3 months ago, in the autumn of 2025, when my husband Jake and I moved into our first home in Portland, Maine. It was a beautiful Victorian house built in 1897, the kind of place you dream about. High ceilings, original hardwood floors, and a wraparound porch that overlooked the harbor. The previous owner, an elderly woman named Margaret Holbrook, had passed away 6 months earlier. Her children were eager to sell, pricing it well below market value. We thought we'd won the lottery. The house came fully furnished. The family told us to keep whatever we wanted and donate the rest. Most of it was dated: floral couches, antique lamps, and dozens of oil paintings of ships and seascapes. But it was in the attic where I found her. I was searching for storage space when I noticed a small door behind a rack of old coats. It opened into a tiny room, no bigger than a closet. The walls were covered in faded yellow wallpaper with tiny roses, and there, sitting on a miniature rocking chair, was a porcelain doll. She was exquisite, maybe 2 feet tall, with perfect curls of golden hair and a Victorian dress of deep burgundy velvet. Her face was flawless, rosy cheeks, delicate features, and the most striking glass eyes I'd ever seen. They were blue, not just blue, but the color of ice on a frozen lake. Clear, deep, almost alive. A brass nameplate on the chair read, "Constance." I should have left her there. God, I should have left her there. But she was beautiful, and I thought she'd look perfect on the mantel in our living room, a conversation piece, a connection to the house's history. So I brought her downstairs. The first night, nothing happened. I placed Constance on the mantel, positioned her carefully between 2 candlesticks, and went to bed feeling pleased with my discovery. But the second night, I woke up at 3:17 a.m. I don't know why I remember the exact time, but the red numbers on the alarm clock were burned into my vision. The room was freezing. I could see my breath in the air, even though it was only early October and the heat was on. And I heard it. Creak, creak, creak. The sound of a rocking chair, slow, rhythmic, coming from downstairs. Jake was snoring beside me, completely oblivious. I shook him awake, my heart pounding. "Do you hear that?" I whispered. He groaned, listened for a moment, then mumbled, "Old houses settle. Go back to sleep." But I couldn't. I lay there, listening to that rhythmic creaking until it finally stopped at 3:33 a.m., exactly 16 minutes. The next morning, I went downstairs. Constance was still on the mantel, but she wasn't where I'd left her. She was turned slightly, facing the hallway instead of the room. Her head was tilted, just a fraction, as if she'd been watching something, or someone. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Jake must have bumped the mantel, or maybe I'd positioned her differently than I remembered. But then it happened again the next night. The cold, the rocking chair sound. And when I checked in the morning, Constance had moved again. This time she was at the far edge of the mantel, closer to the stairs. By the 4th night, I was terrified to go to sleep. Jake thought I was losing it. He suggested I was stressed from the move, maybe not sleeping well. He even joked that I was losing it over a doll. But I knew something was wrong. On the 5th night, I didn't hear the rocking chair. Instead, I woke up to find Constance sitting on my dresser, facing our bed, those ice blue eyes staring directly at me. I screamed. Jake finally took me seriously after that. He helped me search for information about the doll, about Margaret Holbrook, about the house's history. What we found made my blood run cold. Margaret Holbrook had purchased the house in 1954 with her husband, Robert, and their 5-year-old daughter, Constance. Yes, the doll was named after their daughter. In 1961, little Constance Holbrook died in the house. The newspaper archives said it was an accident. She'd fallen down the main staircase and broken her neck. She was only 12 years old. But there was more. After her daughter's death, Margaret became obsessed. She commissioned a doll maker to create a perfect replica of Constance, a memorial, a way to keep her daughter close. The doll was an exact likeness, down to the dress Constance had been wearing the day she died. Margaret kept the doll in Constance's room for years, talking to it, dressing it, treating it like her living daughter. Neighbors reported hearing children's laughter coming from the house, even though no children lived there. Margaret's husband left her in 1965, unable to cope with her obsession. And then we found the final piece. A local historian I contacted sent me a chilling email. Margaret Holbrook practiced spiritualism. She attended seances regularly and believed she could communicate with her dead daughter. There were rumors she tried to bind Constance's spirit to the doll, to keep her daughter with her forever. I read that email 3 times, my hands shaking. She'd tried to trap her daughter's soul in the doll, and I think she succeeded. After learning the truth, I wanted Constance out of the house immediately. But Jake convinced me to wait until morning. It was already past midnight, and he didn't want me driving in the dark while I was worked up. That was a mistake. That night, we both woke up at 3:17 a.m. The cold was more intense than ever. Our bedroom door, which we'd locked, was standing wide open, and at the end of the hallway, illuminated by moonlight from the window, stood Constance. Not sitting, not propped up. Standing. Her tiny porcelain hand was gripping the railing at the top of the stairs. Her head was turned toward our bedroom, those glass eyes reflecting the light like mirrors. Jake saw her too. He grabbed my arm so hard it left bruises. "What the fuck?" he whispered. We watched, frozen in terror, as the doll's head slowly turned away from us, tilting downward to look at the stairs below. And then we heard it. A child's voice. Small. Sad. Echoing through the house. "Mama pushed me. Mama pushed me down the stairs. Mama wanted to keep me forever." The temperature dropped so suddenly that frost formed on the inside of the windows, and Constance moved. Not the jerky movement of something being pulled by strings. Fluid. Natural. Human. She descended the stairs, one small step at a time, her hand trailing along the railing. We heard her reach the bottom, heard her footsteps, actual footsteps, crossing the hardwood floor of the living room, heard the front door unlock from the inside with a sharp click. Then, silence. We didn't sleep the rest of that night. At dawn, we went downstairs together, clinging to each other like frightened children. The front door was wide open. Cold morning air flooded the house, and Constance was back on the mantel, exactly where I'd first placed her. But her dress was dirty at the hem, with small, muddy footprints trailing across the fabric. She'd been outside. We left the house that day. Didn't pack anything except essentials. We checked into a hotel and called a priest, a paranormal investigator, anyone who might help. Father Michael O'Reilly from St. Anthony's Church agreed to come. When we told him the story, showed him the photos we'd taken, he recognized the doll immediately. "Margaret Holbrook came to me in 1999, he said gravely. She wanted me to perform an exorcism on a doll. She said her daughter's spirit was trapped inside, that she'd made a terrible mistake decades earlier. She said the doll had become malevolent, that something else had gotten in along with Constance's spirit, something dark. "What did you do?" I asked. I refused. I thought she was suffering from grief-induced delusions. I suggested therapy. He paused, his face pale. "She died 2 months later, alone in that house. They said she fell down the stairs." The same stairs that killed Constance. Father O'Reilly performed a blessing on the house. He tried to bless Constance, but the moment he sprinkled holy water on her, the doll's porcelain face cracked. A jagged line running from her hairline through her left eye down to her chin. "This object cannot be cleansed," he said. "It must be destroyed." We burned Constance in the backyard fireplace that night. The flames turned green and blue as the doll burned, and we heard sounds I can't even describe. Whispers, screams, the crying of a child that suddenly cut off into a horrible, ancient laughter. When it was over, nothing remained but a pile of ash and 2 blue glass eyes, somehow still intact, staring up from the embers. We buried those eyes in concrete. We sold the house at a massive loss 3 weeks later. That was 7 months ago. We live in an apartment in Boston now. No attic, no antiques, no dolls. But sometimes, late at night, I still wake up at 3:17 a.m. And in those moments, just before I fully come to consciousness, I swear I can hear it. Creak, creak, creak. The sound of a small rocking chair. And I wonder, did we really destroy Constance, or did we just set something free? I'm telling you this story not to entertain you, but to warn you. If you're browsing antique stores, estate sales, or moving into an old house, and you see a doll that seems a little too perfect, a little too lifelike, with eyes that seem to follow you, don't touch it. Don't take it home. Don't play with dolls, because some toys play back.